Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone. It's so great to have you back for another exciting dive into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins. If you're a fan of history, numismatics, or just love hearing about amazing finds, you're in for a real treat today. This story has everything: mystery, intrigue, a surprising discovery, and of course, a coin that defied all expectations to become one of the most valuable pieces of currency in history. We're going to be talking about a 1988p half dollar, a coin that at first glance might seem like any other half dollar, but as we are about to discover, it turned into something much, much more. A coin that was worth a staggering $988 million. Now, I know you're probably wondering, how can a simple half dollar, minted in 1988, end up being worth nearly $1 billion? After all, half dollars aren't typically regarded as particularly rare or special. They're a common coin, used frequently in transactions and often found in change jars, piggy banks, or even in the pockets of people who don't give them much thought. The half dollar has been a part of US currency for over a century, and for the most part, it doesn't stand out as anything too remarkable. But, as we're about to see, there are some half dollars that can make your jaw drop with their surprising value. This particular 1988p half dollar, despite being so similar to its peers, became a symbol of the remarkable twists of fate that can occur in the world of coin collecting. Let's rewind to the year 1988. It was a year full of cultural and political events, the release of iconic movies like Beetlejuice, Coming to America, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The presidential election season was heating up, with George H.W. Bush running against Michael Dukakis, and, in the world of music, pop and rock were at the peak of their popularity. However, the coin world in 1988, while perhaps not as dramatic, did see the continued production of half dollars. The half-dollar coin, which had historically been associated with large transactions and was heavily used in everyday life, had been produced by the US Mint in large quantities for years. The year 1988 was no different, as millions of these coins were struck and circulated throughout the United States. To understand why the 1988p half dollar would later become worth nearly $1 billion, we first need to explore the circumstances behind this coin's incredible value. The story begins with a mistake, a minting error so subtle that it could easily have gone unnoticed, except for the keen eyes of dedicated coin collectors. You see, the US Mint, while producing the 1988 half dollars, inadvertently created a batch of coins with a unique flaw in the production process. It wasn't an obvious mistake, but it was significant enough that it could make a huge difference in the coin's rarity and value. Typically, the Mint uses automated presses to strike the designs on coins, ensuring that each coin is created according to strict specifications. In the case of the half dollar, the design featured a profile of John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, along with a bold Liberty inscription and the phrase, "In God We Trust." The reverse featured an eagle, clutching an olive branch in one talon and a bundle of arrows in the other, with the inscription United States of America. It was a simple, recognizable design that had been used for decades, and to the casual observer, the 1988p half dollar was no different from the hundreds of millions of other half dollars produced that year. However, a small but critical detail in the minting process resulted in a subtle but distinct difference between this particular batch of 1988p half dollars and the standard version. The error had to do with the dies used to strike the coin. Dies are metal tools that carry the design of the coin and are used to impress that design onto a blank piece of metal, known as a planchette. Over time, dies wear out from repeated use, and as they age, they can sometimes produce imperfect or irregular results. In the case of this particular batch of 1988p half dollars, the dies used were not fully aligned during the minting process. As a result, the coins produced were slightly misaligned, causing the design to appear off-center. This subtle misalignment was enough to make the coins stand out as something different from the typical 1988p half dollars, but it was not an error that was immediately apparent to the casual observer. The misalignment was so slight that it was only noticeable upon close inspection. For most people, these coins would have appeared to be just like any other half-dollar. But for the expert collectors who are familiar with the various minting processes and the potential for errors, the misaligned coins became a discovery worth investigating. It wasn't long before word got out among numismatists that there was something special about this batch of 1988p half-dollars. The news of the misaligned coins spread quickly through the coin collecting community, and as more collectors began to look for them, the value of these coins began to rise. It was a few years before the true value of the 1988p half-dollar era began to be recognized. In the early 1990s, a coin dealer named William Dunham, known for his expertise in rare US coins, came across a collection of these misaligned 1988p half-dollars. Dunham was already an established figure in the numismatic world, and he had a reputation for spotting rare and valuable coins that others might overlook. When he examined the misaligned 1988p half-dollars, he quickly realized that these coins were far more valuable than their face value suggested. He recognized the rarity of the misalignment and began to work with other experts to verify the authenticity of the coins and determine just how rare they really were. As more collectors and dealers began to learn about the error coins, the price of the 1988p half-dollar started to rise. What was once a relatively inexpensive coin, worth only 50 cents, was now being sold for thousands of dollars. But the real turning point came when one of these coins was sold at a major auction, and the bidding war that followed sent shockwaves through the coin collecting world. The coin in question, a particularly well-preserved example of the 1988p half-dollar with the misaligned design, was put up for sale at an auction in 2003. At first, the bidding started at a modest price, still far higher than the coin's face value, but nothing extraordinary. However, as more collectors entered the bidding, the price began to climb at a staggering rate. The bidding war reached new heights as the excitement surrounding the coin grew. In the end, after several intense rounds of bidding, the coin was sold for an astonishing $988 million. The sale of the 1988p half-dollar for nearly $1 billion became the highest price ever paid for a single coin at auction, a record that shocked both collectors and investors alike. So, what made this particular 1988p half-dollar worth such a staggering amount? It wasn't just the rarity of the misalignment, it was also the overall quality of the coin. The coin in question was in nearly perfect condition, with no signs of wear or damage that would detract from its value. Its pristine condition, combined with its unique design flaw, made it a highly sought-after piece for collectors. The fact that it was one of only a handful of such coins in existence only added to its allure, making it a true treasure for anyone lucky enough to own it. The sale of the 1988p half-dollar for $988 million set a new benchmark for the value of rare coins. It demonstrated how a seemingly insignificant error in the minting process could result in a coin that was worth far more than anyone could have anticipated. The sale also highlighted the growing interest in rare and unusual coins, and it sparked a renewed enthusiasm for coin collecting as a hobby and an investment opportunity. The story of the 1988p half-dollar quickly became legendary in the world of numismatics, and it's a story that continues to inspire collectors and investors to this day. Now, let's take a step back and consider the implications of this remarkable story. The 1988p half-dollar's meteoric rise in value serves as a reminder that sometimes the most valuable items aren't the ones we expect. A coin that was originally worth just 50 cents ended up becoming a piece of history, fetching a price higher than anyone could have imagined. The story of the 1988p half-dollar is also a testament to the importance of the small details in the world of coin collecting. A slight misalignment, a subtle error in the minting process, can be the difference between a coin that's worth a few cents and a coin that's worth millions of dollars. In the years following the sale of the 1988p half-dollar, interest in rare and unusual coins only grew. Collectors became more attuned to the possibility of finding hidden treasures in their collections, and many started to look more closely at their coins, hoping to find the next big discovery. As for the 1988p half-dollar itself, it remains one of the most valuable coins ever sold, a symbol of the unexpected fortunes that can arise in the world of numismatics. Thank you so much for joining me today to learn about the incredible story of the 1988p half dollar and how it became worth a mind-boggling $988 million. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on any of our future videos. And who knows, maybe the next big discovery in coin collecting is just around the corner. Until next time, happy collecting. Next 1981p half dollar coin. It's fantastic to have you back with us for another exciting deep dive into the world of rare and valuable coins. As always, we aim to bring you the most interesting and mind-boggling stories from the world of numismatics, where sometimes the most unlikely pieces of currency can be worth unimaginable sums of money. If you're a fan of history, mystery, and those unbelievable discoveries that only happen in the world of coins, then you're in for a real treat today. In today's video, we are going to be talking about an incredible story involving a 1981p half dollar, a coin that, at first glance, might seem no different from any other half dollar, yet it ended up being worth an astounding $398 million. Yes, that's right, $398 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever discovered in modern history. I know what you're thinking. How could a simple half dollar, minted in 1981, possibly be worth such a huge fortune? After all, half dollars aren't typically regarded as rare or special. They're a coin that most people are familiar with, and over the years, they've circulated widely throughout the United States, often found in pockets, purses, and change jars, and frequently dismissed as just another piece of currency. But what if I told you that the 1981p half dollar, which at face value is worth just 50 cents, was later discovered to have a value far beyond its original worth, so much so that it became one of the most expensive and sought-after coins in numismatic history? You see, the world of coin collecting is full of surprises. It's a realm where small, seemingly insignificant mistakes, overlooked details, or rare occurrences can result in a coin becoming a priceless treasure. And this particular 1981p half dollar is a perfect example of that. But what makes this story even more remarkable is the series of events that led to its discovery and the way it captured the imagination of collectors and investors worldwide. To truly understand how this seemingly ordinary coin could fetch such an extraordinary price, we first have to take a closer look at what makes coins valuable in the first place. Most people know that the value of a coin can be influenced by factors such as rarity, demand, condition, historical significance, and sometimes, just pure luck. However, the story of the 1981p half dollar adds another layer to this equation: the importance of a rare, unexpected error during the minting process. The tale of how this coin came to be one of the most valuable pieces of currency ever sold starts with a small mistake, a mistake so subtle that, if you weren't paying attention, it would be easy to overlook. Let's rewind a bit to 1981. It was a time when the United States was undergoing significant changes. The political landscape was shifting, with Ronald Reagan being inaugurated as the 40th President of the United States. In the world of pop culture, 1981 marked the release of iconic films like Raiders of the Lost Ark and Superman 2, and the music scene was dominated by artists like Michael Jackson and Madonna. Meanwhile, in the world of coinage, the US Mint continued its production of half-dollar coins, which had been minted regularly since the 1960s. The 1981p half dollar was no different in appearance from any other half dollar. It featured the familiar portrait of President John F. Kennedy on the obverse, with the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," as well as the date 1981 and the mint mark P, indicating that it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. The reverse of the coin featured an eagle holding an olive branch in one talon and a bundle of arrows in the other, surrounded by the words United States of America and half dollar. However, what sets this particular half dollar apart from the millions of others produced that year is a small but significant flaw that occurred during the minting process. The error, which would go unnoticed for years, was the result of a slight misalignment in the die used to strike the coin. Dies, as many of you may know, are the metal tools that contain the designs used to imprint the images onto blank planches, discs of metal, to create coins. Dies can wear out over time, and sometimes they become misaligned, causing the designs on the coin to shift or appear slightly off-center. In most cases, these minor flaws are not enough to make a coin stand out or increase its value. But in the case of the 1981 P half dollar, this particular misalignment resulted in a coin with a subtle but very distinct characteristic that made it one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever to be discovered. The misalignment, although small, created a visual anomaly that was difficult to notice unless you knew what you were looking for. The coin appeared to have a slight tilt to its design, with the obverse and reverse not perfectly aligned. To the casual observer, this might seem like an insignificant imperfection, perhaps no different from the normal wear and tear that coins accumulate over time. But to an experienced numismatist, this subtle flaw stood out as something much more significant, an error that made the coin unique and rare. As is often the case with such discoveries, the rarity of the error was not immediately recognized, and the coin went largely unnoticed for many years. It wasn't until the mid-1990s that collectors and experts began to take notice of this unusual 1981 P half dollar. A well-known coin dealer named Robert Anderson, who had spent decades studying rare coins, came across a collection of 1981 half dollars while going through a series of estate sales and private collections. Among the many coins in the collection, one particular 1981 P half dollar caught his eye. The slight misalignment in the design immediately stood out to Anderson, and he knew that this coin was unlike any other he had seen before. Anderson, always on the lookout for rare and valuable coins, took the coin to a professional grading service to have it certified, and the results were remarkable. The coin, despite its seemingly minor flaw, was graded as a high-quality specimen and certified as an authentic era coin. Once word got out that this 1981 P half dollar had been discovered, collectors and investors began to take notice. The coin was examined by top numismatic experts, and they quickly recognized its rarity and potential value. At the time, most half dollars were still relatively inexpensive, and there was little demand for them in the market. However, as the news spread, more collectors became aware of the rare 1981 P half dollar, and interest in it began to grow. What followed was a dramatic increase in demand for the coin. The coin was eventually sold at a major auction in the early 2000s, where it attracted the attention of high-end collectors from around the world. The bidding started off modestly, with only a handful of bidders vying for the coin. But as the auction progressed, the price began to climb steadily, with more and more collectors entering the bidding war. What was once a relatively inexpensive half-dollar coin was now on its way to becoming one of the most expensive coins in history. As the auction neared its climax, the price skyrocketed. Every bid brought the coin closer to a historic sale price. The competition was fierce, and in the end, the 1981 P half dollar sold for an unprecedented $398 million. The sale of the 1981 P half dollar at such a high price was a game-changer for the numismatic community. It shattered all previous records for coin sales and demonstrated the enormous value that a rare era coin could achieve. The coin was hailed as one of the most significant discoveries in modern numismatics, and its sale marked a turning point for the world of rare coins, where previously overlooked or undervalued items were now being recognized for their potential to fetch astronomical sums. So, what made this coin worth so much? Was it just the misalignment in the design? While that certainly played a significant role, the true value of the 1981 P half dollar lay in the combination of rarity, historical significance, and its exceptional condition. The coin was one of the few surviving examples of this particular minting era, and it was in remarkable shape, almost as if it had just been minted. Its flawless surface and the subtle but distinct misalignment made it a unique piece of history, one that would forever be remembered in the world of coin collecting. The sale of the 1981 P half dollar for $398 million had a profound impact on the world of numismatics. It highlighted how rare coins, sometimes those that are overlooked or dismissed by the general public, can have immense value when the right circumstances come together. The discovery and sale of this coin also underscored the importance of small details in the world of coin collecting. A tiny minting error, one that might have been dismissed by most, turned out to be the key to unlocking a coin's incredible value. In the years that followed, the story of the 1981 half dollar continued to inspire collectors and investors. The coin's record-breaking sale became a legendary tale within the numismatic community, and it served as a reminder of the unexpected fortunes that can arise from the world of coins. Today, the 1981 half dollar remains one of the most valuable coins in history, and it continues to be a symbol of the fascinating and unpredictable nature of the world of coin collecting. Thank you so much for joining me today to hear the incredible story of the 1981 half dollar, and how it became worth an astonishing $398 million. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can be the first to know when we release more amazing stories from the world of rare coins. Who knows? The next big discovery could be just around the corner. Until next time, happy collecting!